Well, Rabbi Freeman, I was thinking, Rabbi Freeman has been a little late these days, texting me with the topic, so, it's kind of, past my bedtime.
Thinking.
It was past my bedtime, but I was thinking about it before I went to sleep. Mm-hmm. And, pretty much about this week's Parsha is what we're talking about here. And I was trying to do some comparisons of what this reminds me of. I don't know if you've ever been to a school, to a university, right around either when each semester starts. They have all these tables lined up out, for people to sign up and join. You join different clubs, different communities, different groups. And usually you'll go out there, you might see one from the Marines. And you got the Marine table out there, and there's a big recruit out there at the Marine table. And they usually show you this great video, a video of it climbing over walls, going through the mud with your gun up like this, and rappelling out of a helicopter, all the cool stuff that's obviously going to recruit people. What they don't show is the guy coming home with no arms and no legs and not feeling too well, mentally, and all the parents crying and the coffin coming. They don't show you that for some reason in the recruiting film.
Right, or just permanently disabled and hunched over in a wheelchair.
Right, for some reason that doesn't make the recruiting film. Now, right next to that table, they'll usually have the religions. You'll have the Jews, the Christians, whatever. Yeah. You go to the Jewish table, and you get the book. There's a guy, the kippah, he's sitting there. Come on, let me recruit you.
Right.
And he reads out the book, and I hope it's not this week's Parsha, because he comes up with the thing, and here's great things that can happen to you if you follow these commandments. It's awesome, it's great. But if you don't, says this one book, but please join my religion. But if you don't, there's like 90-some things. Not, when I say curses, not just bad things. It starts out with a couple bad things. You might not get rain in the fields. Things might not be bad.
Oh, that's easy.
It ends with you eating your children. Things that are so horrible that make the Marines' bedside look great.
When we work the tables, which I used to do that, we call it, tabling.
Right.
We show pictures of like happy people having Shabbat meals, eating chicken, and everyone smiling, drinking wine.
Because if you get to this bit,
we don't show those pictures.
And even better than that, but then the guy's scared. He leaves that table and goes over to the Christian table, where they have this same book with these horrible things, but they added one more testament. One more
that's right.
He says, you know what? This stuff's too hard. You can't really do that. So what we did is God sent his son down, who was tortured, brutally crucified, and murdered for your sins, so you don't have to worry about anything else. So if you look at the sign-up sheet at the end of the day at these three things, the Marines have got the Jews beat by end. The Christians are way up top. You got the Marines, and then you got the Jews with 3 people signed up that just aren't that smart.
And the Christians are saying that, why that happened? God gave them a chance, but they didn't listen. So look what happened to them,
So I'm just thinking, it doesn't make much sense. If I'm signing up for one of these things, I'm going over the top, like with my machine gun. I don't think I can handle this because, the uniforms are pretty cool anyway. And so my wondering is, when you read this stuff, there's all these curses, and Jews, and listen, they happened, and it's not like they're curses and they might happen one day.
Yeah,
You look at the history of the Jews, they happened.
Yeah,
like
maybe for like 2,000 years worth.
It's not like made up.
Pretty much, like one after the other, after the other.
There's millions and 10 times more, 100 times more Christians in the world, probably more Marines at this point in the world. Are the Jews cursed? Is this real?
It certainly seems like it. If you pull out history, every stop we make, every time the Jews get settled down somewhere nice and comfortable, enjoying Spain or Poland or Rome or whatever it is, it never ends up nice. No. It never ends up nice. It's it's to the point where the Jews are actually like a little paranoid. Like even when things are nice, like they're still waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Just had a couple lions. That was the only thing that ever happened to them. Right?
That's right. After they've gotten past that, they seem to have been okay. As a matter of fact, they pretty much have, like for a long period of time, like for about 1,000 years there, the Christians were the ones who were heaping it out onto the Jews.
Saving and everything like that.
Yeah, now they seem to have passed over the mantle of heaping it on the Jews to the Muslims, but still the Jews, if you get it one way or you get it the other way, it's pretty rotten.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you're right. Like, why would anyone want to stand this except for the masochists? Right. Masochists would certainly love. This is a religion for the masochists, you would think. So here is really where there's one itsy bitsy little mistake. Okay. And this is where we're missing one little deal.
Okay.
You're right. God said, if you keep all this stuff, that's where it starts. It says, if you keep all this stuff, everything's going to be so good, it's going to rain on time, and you're going to have plenty crops and lots of kids and your flocks are going to multiply. Everything's going. Then it says, but if you don't, and when we read this in the synagogue, it's so creepy that the reader, the Torah reader, actually drops his voice. So if you do good, and and then he gets, but if you don't, then you'll eat your children, and all this horrible stuff. So he actually reads it fast and quiet. And as a matter of fact, there's another rule in the synagogue. There's this custom that the Torah reader always is the one that is called to make the blessings on that part, because nobody in the congregation wants it.
No, that would be my choice.
Yeah, we'll honor you with all the blessings. And you're like, I don't. It's creepy. You don't even want to get close to it, right? So here's the deal. There is one missing, and that is that when we read about beginning in next story portion, it refers to these curses. But when the Torah refers to the curses, it adds one little word. The Torah doesn't call the curses. Of the covenant.
Okay.
The curses of the covenant. That makes all the difference in the world.
I'm fine.
Okay, now we got that settled. Let's move on to the next topic. Okay, now, what's a covenant?
Covenant is a deal.
It's a
contract
right.
that we make.
That's right. Usually, it is a deal. You make a covenant. Now, biblically, how do covenants work? In biblically, covenants are really serious. How do they usually go? Like, what's a covenant in the Torah?
Circumcision.
That's probably the most famous one. Circumcision is covenant, right? If the full name for circumcision is bris milah, which means the covenant of circumcision, cutting off some of the flesh. Right. But we usually just shorten it. We just call it bris, covenant. But go along with every time you read in the Torah about a covenant, it always says cutting a covenant. Let's cut a covenant. That's the terminology for covenant.
You got that right for the bris, right?
Well, that's right. And the bris, classic of classics. Yeah. Let's cut a covenant. What does that mean? There's another one. What's called the covenant of the parts, of the halves. Covenant of the halves. Right. So what he did was cut it. He put one side of it here, one half of beef there, one half of beef there. And he walked in between the halves. And as he walked in between the halves, a fire came and shot through between the halves. Again, there's cutting. What's the deal? A covenant is you and I become one. That's what a covenant's all about.
Okay.
So how do we become one? So you have to think like Huck Finn, right? Remember that?
I remember
Okay.
him.
So you got now I'm forgetting now. I think this was Tom Sawyer, and they want to make this. They're going to make a covenant. They're like out raft or the.
That's right.
And he cuts his flag together.
It's not safe anymore. Don't do this.
Man, for sure. Right. And I even put it in a little container.
Just like that.
Yeah, right. Man, spreading all kinds of horrible things. Yeah. So what's the deal? To really make a covenant, there's you and there's me. But we want to become one.
Right.
So how do we make a covenant? So what we do is we take a piece of you and a piece of me, and we put them together. And we make this new entity. We somehow bond. So anytime there's a covenant, that means one part has got to cut off some of theirs, and the other part's got to cut off some of theirs. So there's got to be this cutting of holes, and the joining together to make the into a new whole that didn't exist before. Okay. Let's make a covenant. We're going to make this covenant. And covenants generally mean they've got rules. They got benefits and rules. Like you live in one of these neighborhoods. I don't know if your neighborhood has a covenant or not. You know,
most of them do. Right.
The neighborhoods have covenants. Matter of fact, one time I was doing something that my neighbor didn't like. My neighbor said, "You know, if this neighborhood had a covenant, you wouldn't be allowed to do that." And I said, "That's why I bought in this neighborhood." You know, if it did, I wouldn't have bought here because I wouldn't be all right. I didn't want to be bound by that covenant. Right? Buy in. So the covenant, there's benefits you get from being in the covenant. Of course, there's downsides, limitations, restrictions, and all that, right? And if you violate, like if you know, in these neighborhood covenants, like you park your pickup truck or something like that outside, you know, you park it up for more than 3 days, there's a pickup truck parked in front of your house.
Tires off your
That's right. Yeah, you put anything up on blocks, and they're all over you.
Front yard,
right. So there's a downside to a covenant, but about a covenant, someone getting punished and getting kicked out are very, very different. Because kicked out means, okay, but what happened to the covenant? We already made a covenant. So if you made a covenant and we're in and I'm bought in and I'm one with you, well, what happens when I'm not living up to the covenant? There's keep punishing me until I get back to the covenant. Anyone continually punished and punished and punished and punished, very interesting way is actually being told, you're in. And because I can't kick you out, I got to punish you to get back on track. Right?
Wait, so this is the good thing?
When a couple is fighting,
right,
it's good.
Okay.
If they have a problem. Of course, this would be nice. If they don't have a problem, they wouldn't be fighting at all.
Right.
But you know, when they stop talking to each other,
that's the bad part.
Then they're done for. You know, she does something wrong, he does something wrong. You know, I'm not even going to deal with it. I'm not going to even talk to you about it. Do whatever you want. Get out of here. Get out of my life. Filing for divorce. I don't even care. I'm not going to waste my breath on you. No sense fighting. Now, if they're in there, they're hollering and you, throwing dishes back and forth on it. Okay, well, you know, what are they doing that for?
They want to make it work.
They want to make it work. Each one's trying to make it work, and they're all frustrated, they're all angry, but they're still trying to make it work. Once they say, like, I'm not wasting my time anymore, we're done, it's all over. So the curses in the Torah is the curses of the covenant. Okay, you and I, we are one.
So this is one deal you can't get out of.
Can't get out of.
Can't get out of this deal.
Can't get out of. So here's the deal. One time, I was working for my dad, blessed memory, and I messed up really bad. And I'm coming back to the office, and I realize that I have messed up really, really bad. I don't even want to get into it, but I messed up pretty bad.
Off mic, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, right. It was bad. It was bad. So anyway, so I'm sitting there. I come in the office, and I'm waiting for my dad to come in, and he's going to, like, torch me. So I'm waiting there, and I'm thinking, all right, this is it. I'm done. This is not working out. I'm out of here. So my dad comes walking in, and I'm going to preempt him. Before he torches me,
I know that's going to work.
I'm going to preempt him. I say, he walks in the door. He's ready to, like, give it to me. He walks in the door, and I said, all right, this isn't working out. I quit.
How'd that work out, by the way? I'm sure it was smooth, very smooth.
I quit. He looks at me and he says, you can't quit. And then he proceeds to torch me.
How supposed to be.
He said, you're going to stay here, and you're going to do this again until you get it right. You can't quit.
There you go, good.
Right? Now, if I was working for someone else, like some stranger, I'd quit, and they'd say, okay, I mean, he can't tell me you can't quit, right? They say they quit, they're gone. What can you do? You can't say you can't. But when it's your son, you just tell him, you can't quit.
That's not an option.
What do you mean? I said I quit. Oh, you can't quit.
Wow. That had to be a pleasant experience.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, yeah. And okay. Because then he went on ahead and tortured me, right? And then he told me, now this is what I got to do to fix it. And he put me back out there and made me go fix all the whole mess up, and that wasn't so pleasant either. So that covenant.
That's a covenant.
That's when you're dealing with your dad. You're dealing with your dad.
Right.
So he says, you want to fix it? I said, just let me out. Let me out. I'll go off, whatever. No, I'm sorry. I'm not letting you out. You got to fix it. I don't want to fix it. So he just keeps applying the pressure and just, literally smack you up until you finally go out and fix it.
Wow.
Anyone else? Here's the door. You're gone.
Right.
Covenant is different. These are the curses of the covenant. The proof is it was still around. The dad really, really didn't like it. So why don't you just press the delete button? After a certain period of time, like, what's the purpose in it?
This is enough. Boom.
Yeah, gone. Delete. We don't want to deal with these people for. They're just a pain in the neck. They never get it right. Like, give us maybe 2,000 years. After you don't get it right after 2,000 years, 1,000. Okay, I'll be kind of 2,000. I'll give you another 1,000. You still haven't gotten it. Forget it. Delete. But that's not the way it works.
That's not how it works.
Right.
That's tough. Now wait, so the covenant like a deal, right? Didn't we just get one of the presidential candidates write a book, The Art of the Covenant? Didn't we just have that, or no? That was not it.
Right.
Similar to that.
Right. Yeah. So covenants. No. Really, right. Right. For most people now, so that and all that stuff. This one was a serious covenant, and that's why we play it serious. When a child is born, we just take out the knife and we say, kid, you're part of the covenant, and we slice off some of the flesh. We literally, that is serious. You can get a mark on your body forever that reminds you that you've been covenantally indentured to this. You are covenantally committed.
Wow. Covenantally
committed. That is full time. You can't back out of it. You can't cover it up. You can't. You're in. You're in. It's got rewards. It's got to have downsides. And we make this covenant, and then we don't observe it. We don't live up to it. And well, what happens now? So it's like we're stuck in this miserable relationship. So we got to fix it. That's where the curses come in.
And this is a community covenant we're talking about here. We're not talking about an individual covenant right now.
Communal covenant. It is the Jewish people. Now, along the way, there are individual Jews, and anyone who wants to throw in a towel and get off, forget it. I'm out of here. You can get up. You can go. You can jump ship. Any individual can jump ship. The people cannot jump ship. And what God does is when he sees that the people are kind of veering off, invariably that's when those curses come back in and say whack, 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 and then the people get back on track. And then things veer off and whack, 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 back on track.
Sort of like when you see the sheep going, or the cattle going down there, they go veer off. They got to be bitten in the heels a couple times.
Yeah, right. Get nips. Right.
Nipped a couple times and
then
go back in.
Right.
It's not pleasant for a minute there, but you get
right. And sometimes it's more serious than other times. Right. But they are still on track, and that is because
right. That helps a little bit.
Yeah.
So the question is then, here it's been what 3,000 years really since we began this whole thing.
Yeah.
How do we still have the troops going? I mean, it's a, as we talked at the beginning, it's a tough rules. These are, and not just the rules, but the punishment's kind of tough here.
Right.
As everybody's saying, where the heck's the reward? What's going on here? I mean, is it worth it? And why are we still here? So many of us Jews still here. As you said, we could jump ship.
Yeah, right. So amazingly enough, first of all, if you have to go through bad stuff, it says that even so, I have not despised this people, and have not rejected this people to destroy them. They are still around. Not only that, and I've talked about this before, I'm really totally phenomenal progress.
No, I can see that too.
We're making, even though things look really bad, you got the state of Israel now. Yep. Even though, things are dire, and you got Iranians, and the United States government right now can't give them enough money to build the nukes as fast as they possibly can. Right? And how many more billion you want? Cash. We'll just send it right over to you, please. Let us help you. So even though it's really dire, but if you stop and you take a snapshot right today, okay, like
any time,
right to any single time in all of history. I mean, we've got not after living in Israel, but Israel's not so shabby. I mean, it's got lots of problems, and a million and one problems, but on the other hand, there's some really amazing stuff going on over there.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I was just there, and we were living okay, and we weren't done. And my daughter and her family, they're like low end of the economic scale. Everybody had food.
No one's eating their young?
I was in the grocery stores. I mean, they got supermarkets there. They got big, beautiful, like Costco-sized supermarkets. And I was in there, and people have carts full of food, and the parking lots are jammed, and the restaurants are, and we're eating out, we're ordering. I mean, ice cream shops. It's not, driving highways. I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what's going on over there. Well, all in all, it looks to me like the Jewish people are making progress. Now there are places, certainly. You look around America, in the diaspora, America and the rest of the diaspora. Yeah, Jews are disappearing at a very, very, very fast rate. But that is every individual's choice. Is if they want to jump ship, they can jump ship at any time. But the body of the Jewish people, I would have to say, is considerably healthier than at, I don't know when, how many times, I can't recall of a time in the past, going like way back to temple times, that the Jewish people were, as a whole, all that much stronger. And by the way, although our numbers remain constant, because as much as we're having kids, people are just disappearing also. So our numbers are remaining constant, probably about 12 million or so, maybe even shrinking a bit. But, it seems to me that, the people who want to be part of the Jews and identify with the Jews and act Jewish and be Jewish, you can get anything you want. You can get all the materials you want. You can get there's just so much. You can get on the internet and read about the Torah, or order yourself a super duper kosher steak and have it delivered to your door within hours. And I don't know.
So things are all right.
Yeah.
So bottom line, we had some curses, but the curses are within the covenant. So it's pretty much just keeping us in line.
And the curses are positive.
Right.
They're ugly. They're horrific. But they do have the positive effect of keeping us in, and therefore moving towards the goal. And it looks like we are moving ever so slowly toward the goal. And we're not there yet. There's lots of scary stuff.
So all right, so maybe choose Jew. Uncle Friedman wants you
That's right.
to join.
We're not cursed.
We're not cursed.
We're blessed to be part of the covenant.
Huh?
That's
There we
it.
go. All right, go Jew.
Yeah.
See you next week.